Rob and Slim Show.
This is Jason Starr.
How you doing, Jason?
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. What's going
That's
on?
Cool.
You were in New York City?
I am in New York.
That's where it's
I'm
happening, man. That's awesome.
I'm in Manhattan.
That's cool. I got.
You're South Jersey?
Yeah, we're South Jersey, dirty South, right by LBI.
Okay. Nice.
It's all right. It's all right. But the winter's kind of dead.
Right.
Kind of slow. But I got your books today, dude. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, I can give them away.
I checked. I read the Returning and the Wolverine Max. They were awesome. We got them for our giveaways. And we've been plugging for people to call.
I also grabbed some of your stuff on Kindle. I think Lost City was one of your novels that I grabbed that I do plan on reading. It looks pretty interesting. And that one's turning into like a motion picture or something, they said?
That's Twisted City. Yep.
Twisted City,
okay. Yep, it's funded and they're casting it right now, so looks good, but you never know in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You always have to keep you always have to keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, Hollywood was the same person that turned Pearl Harbor into a love story.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Did you ever have anyone adapt any of your other work into films before, or is this the first time?
I've adapted a number of my books myself. Hired to write screenplays, adapting my books. I wrote an original screenplay once that Halle Berry was producing and attached to starring. None of my major stuff has gotten made yet, but a few things look really close right now. So it's always keeping your fingers crossed. Like at some point, it's always beyond your control.
Yeah.
As a writer, even if you're the screenwriter, you hand it off at some point, and the decisions are not yours anymore. That's why I love novel writing and comic books, because the writer's in total control.
Now, I know there's certain guys, like, I'm sure you're familiar with Alan Moore. He will not go and see any of his movies when they're adopted. Like, he'll sell them, and then that's it. He refuses to watch any of them. Are you going to go see your stuff, or?
I would love to see it, yeah. I'm dying. I'm waiting to see it.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one online. No, I heard Woody Allen does that also. I heard Woody Allen never saw one of his movies, actually.
Yeah.
After his final edit, he's never actually seen one.
Wow.
I heard Scorsese watches his with the sound off.
Oh, that's crazy.
He just wants to see the images. I'm not like that. I would want to see everything. I've never really read one of my books yet. I've never read one of my books in whole since I've written them. Sometimes occasionally I'll pick one up and just read a section. Realize how sucky it is and put it down. No.
Plus, Alan Moore.
Yeah, there's always things you want to change. When you look back, I think that's the problem in any art form. I think artists are perfectionists and want to get it perfect. And when you pick up something, a few years later, or a movie that you made a while ago, and I think there's always things you want to do differently and you would do differently.
Especially with your older stuff, it's always like, that sucked, that's garbage. It's always what you're doing now, the old stuff is like shit compared to what you're doing now. That's how I always felt.
Yeah, I won't even...
True. My favorite book is always the one I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't even go back and listen to some of our older podcasts. I refuse to listen to them. I don't want to hear any of them.
Oh yeah, I hate the sound of my own voice.
The first 10 minutes of this one, I'm never going to listen to again.
Now, how'd you get hooked up with Marvel? That's really cool. I would think that would be a really hard thing to get into.
No, I just called them up. I said, hey. No.
I almost believe that, because that works a lot of times, man.
No, it was kind of a roundabout way. Several years ago, one of the editors at Vertigo had been reading my book, so asked me to do an introduction to 100 Bullets, Brian Azzarello's series. So I did that, to one of the collected volumes. Then I did an original graphic novel to Chill for Vertigo, and did some stuff for DC Comics, and became friends with Ed Brubaker, who kind of put me in touch with some people at Marvel, and one thing led to another. I did a Punisher, I did the Wolverine Max series, I'm doing something now, a top secret, unannounced project
Nice.
that I was sworn to secrecy by the powers that be at Marvel. So I cannot mention what it is, but I am. It does involve one of the major Marvel characters.
It's a Spider-Man comic.
Avengers? Guardians of the Galaxy. By Jason Starr.
No, what I've always been curious.
Spider-Man Max. I take him really violent. And,
Yeah.
no, I'm kidding.
Kevin Smith actually did like a Spider-Man series that I heard was
That was
very
supposed
like
to be
violent
dark,
and just very dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Marvel would ever go incredibly dark with some of their characters. I mean,
Yeah.
even the Wolverine series I wrote, it was for, the Max series, 17 and over, but some people said, like, some people thought it was very dark, some people thought it wasn't dark enough, but...
Yeah, I expected a lot because it said explicit content on it. I expected a lot.
There's some explicit content, but there's some things like I wanted to do that the editors would not let me do.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that returning. That was a really cool concept, man. Slim was asking me, it's not like zombies, right? They just come back from the dead and then...
Yeah, it's kind of like a twist. It's like a twist on a zombie type book because they're not really... You can't... I think it might even be a notch scarier because you can't tell... who's bad and who isn't.
Yeah.
The so-called zombies look like real people, so you never know. It could be your friend, your neighbor.
Yeah.
That's like becoming a big.
Yep.
That's becoming like a big theme nowadays. Is the whole zombie scare? That's really becoming a big theme. And
I know the government even released a statement years ago.
CDC put it out that
Canada did recently too. Canada was like, we're prepared for the zombie apocalypse.
which makes you wonder if they're really trying to cook something up in a lab somewhere.
I just say grab your ankles and hope for the best. That's what my grandfather always told me, and I'm sticking by that, man.
I actually heard as of 20 years ago, Marvel owned the word zombie. Like they had their copyright to it, and then they lost it somehow.
They lost it. It ran
Probably
out.
because it just seems silly. Like you can't copyright zombie. If anyone was to copyright zombie, it would have to be like George Romero, right?
Yeah,
What about Rob
Romero.
Zombie?
Right, there you go.
Right. That's right.
Something I've always been curious about with, like, you wrote for established characters like Wolverine and the Punisher. Now, were those characters who you knew very well, so it was easy for you to write that, or did you have to read a shitload of comics and read up on those characters' history?
Yeah, did you have to do a little bit of discovering for, like, dig deeper in for these characters?
Well, I knew the Punisher really well because I'd read Garth Ennis's series. I definitely, the Punisher Max series, which I ended up writing for. So I knew that really well. And still, like, there's some things at Marvel, like, they're very careful with their characters, and there are things you can do and can't do. And at the beginning, the editors are very heavily involved in what you do. And then they kind of let you alone after a while. With Wolverine, I was somewhat familiar, so the X-Men. And I read Origins, and I've read some of the classic stories. Right. I did go back and just read some more Wolverine, but the thing with Wolverine Max was I was really allowed to almost reinvent the character's backstory because it was for the Max universe, and I got to do my own thing with it. So
that's cool.
I was able to change his history. I didn't have to stick to the origin story.
Nice.
And that was kind of fun. So it was kind of a combination of having to work with their character, which is great, of course, but also getting to put my own spin on it. I haven't really done anything in a really tight continuity type of comic where I came in like right in the middle of something, like some long series, like if I went into Amazing Spider-Man or something. Yeah, and like had to take over. And you have to know all that history because the fans out there would let you know immediately. If you did something that was done 6 years ago. So I didn't have to deal with any of that. Like I've never really had to deal with any of that. I don't think it would be a problem. Like I think the editors would probably be really good at catching you up on stuff.
Yeah.
It's really their job to know everything. So I think that would be a different type of challenge because you have to write to like the continuity. But it's also a challenge to reinvent it and go into something fresh.
Now you were at Comic-Con just a few weeks ago, right?
Yes, I was.
I thought so. Our friend Mike went, and he was
signing. They're returning.
Oh, cool. Yeah, our friend Mike went. He was supposed to be handing out our business cards, but I don't know if he did or not.
I didn't ask him.
I didn't either.
You were there? Your friends were there? Or?
One of our friends was going up, and we gave him a bunch of our business cards to hand out to people. I don't know if he did or not.
I think he's such like a hardcore nerd, though, that he was just captivated by everything there. I just completely forgot. So.
Too bad we didn't know you were there. We could have had him talk to you.
It was so crowded. It's such a madhouse. I don't know if you've ever been, but
no.
I think they had a bigger crowd there than ever before, and it's just hard to even move around. I've been to the one in San Diego a couple of times also, and that
I heard that one's a big
also
deal.
a pretty big scene.
Yeah,
I heard that one's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's bigger. It's bigger.
Wow, that's like the original.
I know the New York one is getting bigger, like over the years. Like I went to it when they kind of first started it back like 6 or 7 years ago, when it was just like a small thing. But I know it's grown a lot bigger.
Well, the thing about San Diego is it's more of a party. It's more like a Mardi Gras meets Comic-Con because it's so contained. San Diego's a smaller city. The downtown area is right there.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter there's so many different like pages for it. There's like outside Comic-Con LA. Like I guess there's a whole like thing to do about it. Like whole like party scene and shit.
Exactly. Yeah, and at night it spills over into the streets. So there's a lot of
debauchery.
It's much more festive. It's much more festive in New York. Obviously New York's big, that people just spread out and just go all over the city. So it's more contained.
Yeah.
So Jason, have you always been into like comic books?
Yeah, I mean, since I was a kid, I was a really big comic book fan when I was growing up. When I started writing novels, and my first book was published about 16 years ago, actually.
Wow.
Before that, during that period, I was writing plays. Before my first book was published, and then I was writing novels. I wasn't quite as into it. There's definitely a gap there where I wasn't as into it. But since that point, when I started doing stuff for DC, I really started getting back into it, and kind of just everything comes around. Everything comes around full circle.
Yeah.
Are you more of like a Marvel fan or a DC fan?
I would have to say Marvel at this point.
Yep,
I agree.
Just because I've been so much more involved in the characters. I did a little Batman. I mean, I did a one crossover issue of Doc Savage, Justice Inc. and Batman. And it was kind of surreal to just write dialogue for Batman, and I would love to do like the Dark Knight or a Batman comic someday for DC if I could. I just think that would be right in my wheelhouse. But and a lot of the other characters interest. I did Sand story for them. But I'm just so much more involved in the Marvel characters at this point. So and in doing original stuff, I'm definitely hoping to do some more original stuff down the line.
Now, how do you feel about like I'm more of a DC fan myself, and how do you feel about like the Gotham series, and they have Arrow now, and then I think they just started Flash. Like, do you like those series, or do you think they're just going too far with making TV shows?
I liked Arrow. I haven't seen too much of the Gotham one. I really like Arrow. I mean, I think in general, I think Marvel has done a better job, I feel, of like creating a
I completely agree.
A universe,
creating the
that really
characters and the stories behind them. That Marvel's done a way better job.
Yeah.
I think really the only one they really kind of built the story for was when with Batman when Christian Bale played it.
Yeah. My only thing with Marvel, like they're doing a great job with the movies, but like I hate how like they can't use X-Men and they can't use weird. Like Spider-Man, and it is all because of the licensing, but
'cause Fox has some licensing and stuff like that.
What do you mean? What do you mean they can't use Spider-Man? What do you mean?
Well, like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're not allowed to use Spider-Man because Sony has the right to Spider-Man. And also, if you saw the end of Captain,
okay.
Right, and if you saw like the end of Captain America 2, where Braun Stroker calls Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, he calls them miracles because they're not allowed to use the word mutant because Fox owns the right to X-Men and owns the right to the word mutant. So it's all very weird.
They actually own the rights. I didn't know that they own the rights to the word mutant. Wow.
Well, yeah, I guess because
how do you buy rights to a fucking word? You know what? I own the word asshole. That's it.
I could be.
I'm buying the rights to the word asshole.
Yeah, the zombie thing. That's like Vince McMahon. They say owns the names of the wrestlers. If they ever go somewhere else, they have to change them. You know, because he trademarks their names, like all the wrestlers.
So no one could ever be The Rock.
WWE. Nope. If he goes somewhere else, he's got. That's why Hollywood Hogan wasn't Hulk Hogan when he went to. WCW or whatever.
That's right.
I'm not completely.
I actually almost got a job. I went for a job interview at the W.
Wow.
Yes.
For to be a wrestler?
Yeah. To write
for a writer
wrestling.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that something you wanted to do, or like were you really into it, or?
As a kid, I was very into it. Also.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it's weird, like going into the office there, it's kind of, it does look a lot like Marvel. Like, in fact, they told me if I worked there that I could no longer write for Marvel. So I would have to, I don't know why, like, that would be any conflict whatsoever. Like,
it doesn't mix at all.
Like, why I couldn't write Wolverine and also do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop Marvel for that. No way.
Randy Savage got to be the Bonesaw in that Spider-Man movie.
it seems silly that you can write for DC and go over to Marvel, but you can't write for wrestling.
True.
Now, who would you say I mean, we'll break it into Marvel and then we'll break into DC, but who's your favorite for each category?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Good question.
Who's my favorite character?
Yeah.
In Marvel? I guess I would have to go with Wolverine for Marvel, and maybe the Punisher.
So you like the tough guys, pretty much.
Yeah, that is pretty much my wheelhouse, but
just the badasses.
And Batman. You know, I've always loved Batman.
Yeah,
I've always been personally.
You know, I think there's been so many Batman, movies, comics, and
I've always been a big fan of Batman.
Difficult to find a fresh take, but
I'm a straight up Hulk guy.
It's cool with Batman though, like it's crazy because the new ones that come out are so good. It just makes the old ones look like shit. But when the old ones came out, they were the best thing out at the time. Like it's just crazy.
What's the one with Jim Carrey? That one was one.
That was Batman Forever.
The Joker. Riddler. I'm sorry.
There's just been so many variations.
Yeah.
Not just in DC and Marvel, but in other comic books of Batman-like characters.
I always thought.
There's been so many over the years that I've just been offered to work on, and some obscure characters that companies want to bring back.
Was it Night Owl?
I
always thought the animated series that was on when I was a kid was the best. I guess it was
just called it was just called Batman.
No, just
it called
Batman,
Batman.
No, Batman the animated series. That's all it was called. And it was was great how they did it because you couldn't tell whether it was like the 1940s or like to like present day or whatnot. It was so good.
In the Batman series?
Yeah. The way they did the setting.
The animated series he's talking about from the early 90s.
Yeah. No, that was cool.
And then
I like that.
Mark Hamill was just great as the Joker, like the way he did the voice.
When we were talking about earlier, like the Marvel with the movies and stuff, I've always thought that Marvel does better with the cinematic universe, while like DC has really good animated movies.
Yeah.
Like their animated movies are amazing.
I think that's a really good point. What did you guys think of Guardians of the Galaxy?
I loved it.
That was an amazing movie.
So great.
Amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. But I'm just worried because they've already announced the second one. I'm like, are they going to rush it? Are they going to ruin it? Like the first one was so good.
Yeah, I thought it was a little early for them to announce a second one.
Yeah.
I actually like.
I just think it was. I agree with you because it was just so. Some of it was just so natural, and it kind of reminded me a little of Kick-Ass, like the first Kick-Ass.
Yeah, like how raw it was, and like how just real life it was. Like,
yeah, like a little tongue-in-cheek at times, but still kind of cool and exciting at the same time. And you're right, I think that almost happens accidentally sometimes, and you wonder if they could plan, like, that's why the sequel sometimes is,
can they get that again?
Sometimes isn't as good, but hopefully they'll nail it. Hopefully they'll,
From what I understand, that comic wasn't originally that popular either. Like, it wasn't like one of their best sellers.
That's the movie that made it popular, yeah, because now I think it's doing pretty well. Yep. Nobody really cared about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Weren't they just like fantastic?
Yeah, and some of the others they're bringing out, what was like Black Panther and like all these other
Inhumans. All the, like they're
Inhuman. Yeah.
I think what it is Marvel is more confident now after the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they saw that, okay, we took this comic that wasn't really selling well and we put it on film and it did great, so now we can take some of our stuff that doesn't do good as comics and bring it to movies, and they have more confidence
I have to
do
say,
that now.
I'm not really big into the comics. I mean, I know Spider-Man and Batman, and I know the basics,
Yeah, same here.
When it I
have a feeling Ant-Man is going to be a big hit.
Ant-Man, yeah.
Yeah, I had no clue Ant-Man.
I don't know about that one because I don't know much about Ant-Man other than seeing him in the Avengers. Like a solo Ant-Man to me just seems silly.
I want to see Aqualad the movie.
They are
at that level, right?
Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas are in the movie.
Oh, an Ant-Man?
Yep.
Michael Douglas. Who the hell is Michael Douglas going to play an Ant-Man?
Henry Pym.
Oh, so he's actually playing Ant-Man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking cool, man.
How do you feel about Ben Affleck playing
Batman?
I'm not crazy about the idea. I don't like it.
I feel personally.
I don't know. To me, Ben Affleck is just like one of those actors who's really good. Like I loved him in.
The Town
in some role. Yeah. He's definitely good, but he's such a movie star. He's almost like an old time movie star, like a Gary Cooper type who just is always himself.
Hey,
so
Jason,
I don't know. Like he's not a character actor the way Christian Bale is. I don't know.
Jason, hold on for a second. We got a call. We're gonna see. Do you want to answer it or no?
No, I'll just wait.
Oh, you don't know if it's the interview or for somebody calling in.
Okay.
Well,
Robin Slim Show.
Hello?
Hi, it's Nicholas Snow. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Nick? Could you give us a call back in about 10 minutes? We were just running a little late with our last interview.
That's fine. I'll call you in 10 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Jason, you still there?
Jason.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Yeah, that was just our next interview, but I told him to call back in about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Oh, no worries.
So we're actually going to wrap this up because we're going to go on break, but it was awesome talking to you because I'm a huge comic book fan, and we definitely had a lot of fun talking with you. So
thanks for having me on.
Why don't you get all your plugs out to promote whatever you got to promote, and then we'll let you go.
Go to Amazon. I have a few books on there that are just $2.99 each. Just type in Jason Starr, Twisted City, Hard Feelings, Tough Luck. Read one of my books, and the collected volume of The Returning is going to be in comic book stores in a couple of months. Look for that. And look for my unannounced Marvel project.
Awesome.
All right, Jason. Thanks for the interview, man. We appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, talk to you guys soon.
Take care, brother.
Yup, have a great night.
All right, guys, on that note, we are going on break.